Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala. Amma ba'du. Then we are continuing in the review of An-Nahw al-Wadih. This is the second time reviewing it, but the first time we reviewed it basically when we finished section 1 and now, or part 1, and now we finished section 2, so we review it again inshallah ta'ala to help us out. Hopefully every time it gets better. And these are one of those things that until you get it down pat, review is necessary. So we start here with al-fa'il. Al-fa'il. Again, even though this is one word, there could be something before it or something after it, which makes it kalam, or a complete idea, complete sentence. Al-Qawa'id, the rules, and there's just one. Al-Fa'il, Al-Fa'il, the doer of the verb. Ismun marfu'un taqaddamahu fi'lun. It is a noun which is marfu'. A noun which is marfu'. The fa'il is a noun, the one who does the verb. It's going to be a noun which is marfu'. Taqaddamahu fi'lun. A verb coming before it. وَدَلَّ عَلَى الَّذِي فَعَلَ الْفِعْلُ, or فَعَلَ الْفِعْلَ. Right? فَعَلَ الْفِعْلَ. And it indicates the one who did the action. Fa'ala, he did it or performed it. Al-fi'la, the action. So when we have a verb such as fa'ala, whatever, fa'ala Muhammad. Muhammad is your fa'il. Right? Fa'ala Muhammadun. Such and such. Whatever. Fa'ala Muhammad. Muhammad did. Fa'ala Muhammad. It's a noun. It don't matter. If we have, for instance, a famous example of Daraba Ahmadu. Shakiran. Ahmed hit Shakir. Right? Ahmed hit Shakir. Ahmed is your fa'il. It's mamnu min as-sarf. It doesn't take tanween, right? Ahmed daraba, or daraba Ahmedu Shakiran. Now, without putting the vowels on it, right, we see Shakirin is the maf'ulun bihi, it is Mensoh. Right? So we can also say Ahmadu daraba Shakirin. And we don't have to put that dhamma there because Shakir here has this alif showing it's Mensoh. So we know that he's the object of the beating. We could say Shakiran daraba Ahmadu. Right? Ahmed. And we know that Shakir is the receiver because of the alif, making it Mensoh. And we can change this sentence all around. We could say daraba Shakiran Ahmadu. It doesn't matter what order we have here. Does not matter. We could say Shakira Ahmadu daraba. Right? It does not matter what order we have here. It's going to be Ahmed is the fa'il. It is marfu'. No matter what. And so the fa'il is اسم مرفوع تقدمه فعل. A verb comes before it. It's a noun which is marfu'. A verb precedes it. وَالدَّلَ عَلَى الَّذِي فَعَلَ الْفِعْلَ, and it indicates the one who did the action. Now what if we just have فَعَلَ, or we just have ضَرَبَ? And we learn this later on, right? But if we just have one of these verbs, then where's the fi'l? Where's the fa'il? The fa'il is mustatir. It's hidden inside of the verb. He, right? He, fa'alat. Fa'alat. She, right? She. Now what about fa'altu? Then this is your fa'il. It is a damir muttasal. It is a connected pronoun. And we're going to go over that later on in the future. But the point is, even if we have the damir mustatir, such as in fa'ala, fa'alat, and daraba, that is going to be in a position of being marfu'. And preceding it is the fi'l. And same thing with fa'altu, tu here. Whether it's fa'altu or fa'alta or fa'alti, it's going to be in a position of being marfu', right? It's going to be in a position of being marfu'. The fa'il is always a marfu', whether we see it or not. And it shows us who did the fi'l. Is that clear?
No.
طيب. So fa'il is sometimes mensoob, right? Never. Never. Never mensoob. Al-maf'ulu bihi. Al-maf'ulu bihi. The object of the verb. Al-maf'ulu bihi. Ismun mansubun waqa'a alayhi fi'lul fa'il. Al-maf'ulu bihi, the object of the verb, is an ismun mansubun. It is a mansub noun. Waqa'a alayhi fi'lu al-fa'ili. Waqa'a alayhi, it falls upon it, the action of the doer. That's the object of the verb. It's an ismun mansub, meaning all objects of the verbs are going to be mansub. They're going to be mansub nouns. Waqa'a alayhi fi'lul fa'il. The action of the doer falls upon it. So like we had all the examples. Daraba Ahmadu shakiran. Right? Akala Abdullahi lahman. Kataba Abu Sumayya kitabatan. Right? Or risalatan. And Samiya Amiru muhadiratan. Or darsan. Samiya Amiru darsan. Clear? The maf'ulun bihi is always going to be mansub, a mansub noun. Waqa'a alayhi fi'lul fa'il. The action of the doer falls upon it. Clear?
No.
طيب. Now, الموازنة بين الفاعل والمفعول به. الموازنة, the balancing or the comparison, بين الفاعل, between the fa'il, the doer, and the maf'uli bihi, and the doer of the verb, the object of the verb, between the doer or the subject of the verb. Some people can translate this as the subject of the verb, which is perfectly clear, and the maf'ulu bihi, the object of the verb. Arafna, these aren't new rules here. They're just a comparison of what we just went over. عرفنا, we know, مما مضى, from what took place, what just went by, ما يأتي, what follows. أولا أن كل فاعل وكل مفعول به اسم. We know that every fa'il, every subject of the verb, or every maf'ulun bihi, and every object of the verb is a noun. It cannot be a verb, right? The subject of the verb, the doer of the verb, it cannot be a verb. It has to be a noun. And it has to take place on a noun. Right? That object, the eating, the listening, the drinking, the writing, everything has to take place to a noun, not to another verb. Number 2, أن الفاعل, that the subject of the verb, the doer of the verb, هو الذي صدر عنه الفعل. He's the one that the action came forth from him. The fa'il is the one that the action came forth from him. ضرب أحمد شاكرا. Ahmed is the one who the action came from. Right? أكل عبد الله لحما. Abdullah is the one the action of eating came from. كتب أبو سمية رسالة. The kitab, or the writing, came from Abu Sumayya. Sami'a Amiru Darsan. The listening came from Amir. Number 3, أن المفعول به, that the object of the verb, هو الذي وقع عليه الفعل, then it is the one that the action falls upon. So ضرب Ahmadu Shakiran. Shakir, the action of daraba, of the daraba of Ahmed fell on him. Right? Akala Abdullahi Lahman. The action of Abdullah's eating fell upon the laham. Kataba Abu Sumayya Risalatan. The action of Abdullah's writing fell upon the letter. And the Samia Amiru Darsan, the action of Amir's listening fell upon the dars. That's the object. Number 4, أن الفاعل آخره مرفوع, that the fa'il, the end of it is marfu'. The end of it is going to be marfu', no matter what that sign of marfu' is. The sign of marfu' could be a dhamma, such as in Ahmadu. It could be a dhammatain, such as Muhammadun. It could be a noon, such as in Muslimun. Right? Muslimuna. It could be a group of people doing it. Right? It could be a alif, such as in Muslimani. Or that's not a, yeah. Anyway, Muslimani, yes, that's marfu'. So it could be whatever it is, the sign of being marfu', and there are 4 signs of being marfu', although the asl is the dhamma. It can also be an alif, a waw, or a noon. And we'll go over those inshallah in the future. We already went over them, but we'll review them. وَأَنَا الْمَفْعُولُ بِهِ, and that the object of the verb آخِرُهُ مَنْسُوبٌ, the end of it is mansub. The end of the maf'ul bihi, the object of the verb, is mansub. Whatever that sign of mansub is, whether it be an alif or a ya, a fatha or a ya or a kasra or whatever it might be, to make it could be hadaf shay, it could be the dropping of something for being something being mansub. Whatever the case is, it's going to fall upon the maf'ulun bihi. The end of it is going to be a mansub ending. Any questions?
Say that again right quick, I think.
Which part?
You said it, the last part, you said that it'll be a Mensoh.
Here, if we're making charts in our book like we said yesterday, right? We said yesterday we should be making a chart, say, in our notebook. Maybe the first two rules up that we just read a little bit before, we didn't write anything down yet. Now, al-muwazana bayn al-fa'il wal-maf'ul, we're going to make a chart. We're going to say al-fa'il. We're going to say al-maf'ulu bihi. We're going to make us a chart. Maf'ulu bihi. Now we have a chart. Okay. Both of them are ism. Right? Both of them are isms. That's number one. You can cross that out if you want. And al-fa'il huwa alladhi sadara anhu al-fi'l. Right? We'll say fa'il sadara anhu al-fi'l, maybe. Right? Then we'll say here the maf'ulun bihi huwa alladhi waqa'a alayhi al-fi'l. Waqa'a alayhi al-fi'l. Right? Then we'll say number 4. The fa'il is always marfu'. And number 5, the maf'ulu bihi is always mansoob. So there's our chart. There's our comparison between the two. They're both nouns rather, not names, but nouns. One, the fa'il, sadra anhu al-fi'l, the verb comes from him. The maf'ulun bihi, waqa alayhi al-fi'l, the verb falls on it. The fa'il is always marfu', and the maf'ulun bihi is always mansoob. So for example, we had the example of daraba Ahmadu Shakirin. Right? Daraba Ahmadu Shakirin. Here, daraba is my fi'l. Where's my fa'il? Ahmadu. My maf'ulun bihi is Shakirin. My Ahmad is a noun. Shakir is a noun. Ahmadu has a dhamma. The sign of it being marfu' here is a dhamma. Right? And Shakir here is the sign of it being mansoob here is the fatha. So for instance, we could say daraba Hasanun Shakiran. Or we could say, here, we'll say something different here. Fatima daraba Hasanu Fatimata. Here, Hasan is your fa'il. It's marfu' with dhammas. Right? Fatima is your maf'ulun bihi. We'll put 2 lines. And it's mansoob with 1 fatha. Why? Because it's mamnu' min as-sarf. Just like Ahmed is mamnu' min as-sarf, it's not going to take a tanween. So the sign here of our being marfu' is dhammas, whether 1 or 2 of them. And the sign here of it being mansoob is a fatha, being 1 or 2 of them. Now we have an example of, for instance, daraba al-muslimuna. Or no, we'll say something different here. Al-muhandisuna. Right? Daraba al-muhandisuna trying to think of something here. Huh?
Sana al-muhandisuna baytan.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm trying to maybe I'll use it. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that will make Fatima something else. That's why. 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me another field. Muhandisun. Trying to think of. Huh? I can't hear you.
علم فاطمة.
No, I'm trying to think of another. I'm trying to think of another field here. I'm trying to think. Here we go. I got something. Here we go. Maybe. Not really. Okay. Sabaqa. Sabaqa al-mu'adhdhinun. Right? Al-musallin. Right? Sabaqa al-mu'adhdhinun. Al-musallin. Now here, al-mu'adhdhinun is the plural of mu'adhdhin. Right? What is our sign of being marfu' here? What is our sign of being marfu' here? The wow. So, right? And the sign of this being mansub here is the ya. So there are other signs of being marfu' and other signs of being mansub. So we have here so far, we have dhamma and we have wow. Right? And we have fatas and we have ya. Then we can say, right, for instance, just using the same one even though the sentence doesn't make as much sense. Sabaqa meaning to proceed. Right? To proceed. That the muadhins preceded the people who pray. They go to the masjid, they precede them to the masjid, no problem. We say sabaqa al-muadhinan sabaqa al-muadhinan al-imamain. Right? Al-imamain. That the muadhinan, the two imams preceded the two muadhins preceded the two imams. Right? So here the sign of it being marfu' is an alif and not a dhamma. The sign of it being marfu' here is the alif, and the sign of this being mansub is still the ya. Right? And then yeah, there's no really way for me to have the noon here that I can think of. Anyway, the point is that there could be other things besides the alif or the fata, the fata or the dhamma that can be mansub or marfu'. Is that clear now, Amir? There could be other signs, and we're going to go over them. Is somebody recycling something, or what's going on? It's extremely loud. So the point is that there could be other signs of something being marfu', other signs of something being mansub. It doesn't always have to be a dhamma. It doesn't always have to be a fatha. I'm gonna find out who it is in a minute by just muting everybody one by one. Tayyib. So that is your two rules. We'll go over them real quick again. Number one, أن كل فاعل وكل مفعول به اسم. Every fa'il, every subject, and every object of the verb is a noun. وأن الفاعل هو الذي صدر عنه الفعل. That the fa'il, the subject of the verb, is the one who the verb comes from him. وأن المفعول به هو الذي وقع عليه الفعل. The object of the verb is the one who the action falls upon him. وأن الفاعل آخره مرفوع وأن المفعول به آخره منصوب. That the end of the fa'il, the end of the noun, the fa'il, it is marfu'. and at the end of the maf'ulun bihi it is mansoob. طيب. Next, al-mubtada wal-khabar. Al-mubtada'u wal-khabaru. The subject and the predicate. The rules. Al-mubtada, the subject. Ismun marfu'un fi awwal al-jumla. It is a noun which is marfu' in the beginning of a sentence. And al-khabaru ismun marfu'un yukawwinu مع المبتدا جملة مفيدة. And the khabar is a noun which is marfu' and it makes up with it, if it consists, or if it comes with a mubtada, it makes it a complete sentence or a beneficial sentence. So al-baytu qaribun. The house is close. Both of these are nouns. This is your mubtada, this is the khabar, and they're both marfu'. Right? Hasanun jamilun. Hasan is beautiful or handsome. Right? Both of them are nouns. This is your mubtada, this is your khabar. They're both marfu'. Right? Muhammadun Rasulullahi. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is your mubtada marfu'. This is your khabar shibhu jumla khabar marfu'. We'll just make it short, even though it's more than that right there. Right? Marfu'. So the sentence that begins, as we're going to go on a little bit later, inshallah, in a minute, and see, the sentence that begins with a noun, it has a mubtada and a khabar. Both of the nouns are going to be marfu'. Is that clear?
No.
The jumlatul fi'liya. Al-jumlatu al-fi'liya. The jumlatul fi'liya. كل جملة تتركب من فعل وفاعل تسمى جملة فعلية. Every jumla, every sentence, تتركب, which is composed of من فعل وفاعل, of an action and a doer of the action, or an action and the subject of a verb and the subject of the verb, a verb and the doer of the verb. Tusamma, I said yusamma. Tusamma is called jumlatin fi'liyatin. It is called a verbal sentence. A verbal sentence. So we have jalasa, right? Jalasa Muhammadun, whatever. Muhammadun. This is made up of a fi'l and a fa'il. Right? Jalasa is the fi'l, Muhammadun is the fa'il. Fa'il, as we said, is always marfu'. Akala Mustafa. Akala Mustafa. The verb here, the fi'l here is akala. Mustafa is your fa'il. Now Mustafa,
Yeah.
it's hidden. Because of this, you cannot say it. This ya,
Okay.
it prevents it from showing. Huh?
Because of the yeah.
Yeah, the ya or the aleph maksura. You gotta have headset in or something, Amir.
Say it again, Doc.
You have to have a headset. There's a bad echo.
Okay, come on now.
So Mustafa here is this ya or alif maksura here prevents the sign of marfu from showing up. Mustafa is the fa'il, but it's prevented from showing up because of this alif. Right? Alif maksura. But كل جملة تتركب من فعل وفعل تسمى جملة فعلية. Every verb or every sentence which begins with a verb is called a verbal sentence. That's basically the rule. That's easy. الجملة الاسمية كل جملة تتركب من مبتدأ وخبر تسمى جملة اسمية. Every sentence which is made up of or composed of a mubtada and a khabar. And both the mubtada and the khabar are nouns. Right? They're made up of nouns. It begins with a noun. Then it's called a jumlata ismiya, a nominal sentence. Pretty clear. Begins with a verb, it's a verbal sentence. And if it begins with a verb, it must have a fi'l and a fa'il. Not every sentence or not every verb has an object. As we said, Jalasa Muhammad. Where's the object of the verb? Jalasa doesn't require an object. Right? Jalasa, it doesn't require an object. But if we say Daraba Ahmed, Ahmed beat, Ahmed hit, it requires a object, right? But not every sentence, not every verb requires an object. Some require two objects, such as ja'ala. Ja'ala Muhammadun. Muhammad made Muhammad made I don't know, I can't think of nothing right now. Khashaban. He made wood. Kursiyan. I don't know, I'm just thinking right now. He made the wood a chair. But he made the wood something. So this requires two, right? Requires two maf'ulun bihis. Right? So ja'ala Allahu al-dhulumati nuran. Allah made the darknesses light. For an example, He made the darknesses light. Right? جعل الله الظلمات نورا. So every sentence that consists of a fi'l and a fa'il is called a verbal sentence. And every كل جملة تتركب من مبتدأ وخبر تسمى جملة اسمية. And every sentence which is made up of a mubtada and a khabar, meaning it begins with nouns, is called a nominal sentence. Clear? Abdullah, Amir, clear?
No.
نعم.
طيب. Okay, نسب الفعل مضارع. What makes, as we said, or if we should have said, or we should have understood, or maybe we should have emphasized it from here, is that the origin of nouns and verbs across the board is marfu'. Right? The origin, the basis for nouns and verbs is that they are marfu'. Right? Unless something happens where they're mabni, where they don't change, they don't have a sign of marfu' or mansub or this or that, or something comes before them where it changes it. And that's what we're talking about now. What's going to change a verb to being a present tense verb to being mudari? Now, if we made a chart, we had a fi'l, we had madi, we had our al-madi, we had al-mudari, the present tense, and we had al-amr. Now, al-amr and al-madi, they never ever change, no matter what comes before them. That's what we call mebni. It never changes, and we're going to talk about that more in section 2. Al-madi and al-amr, they never change. So when we're talking about Nahw, the only thing we're talking about right now is the mudari. That's it. That's the only thing we have to worry about, is the mudari. Because the amr and the madi, they're never going to change. The mudari, it can go from being marfu' to being mansoob to being majzoom. So we're going to talk about what makes the mudari mansoob. Yunsabu. Somebody's got a bad whistle.
Yeah. I'm getting a little some echo from some.
Amir, I'm going to let your microphone on, but you mute yourself because you have a really bad feedback with a bad whistle. And if you want to say something, then open your mic and say it. But other than that, I have a real bad whistle from you. Okay, don't open it then. So we're talking here about the mudari, which can be made mansoob or majzoom. So what takes it from being marfu' to being mansoob? That's what we're talking about here. This rule here is talking about what takes the fi'l mudari, the present tense verb, from being marfu' into being mansoob. He says yunsabu al-fi'lu al-mudari'u matta sabaqahu ahadun or ahadu al-nawasibi al-arba'. The fi'l mudari, it becomes mansoob mata, when sabaqahu, precedes it, ahadu an-nawasib, one of the nawasib, means those things that make it mansoob. One of those elements that make it mansoob. One of those 4 elements that make it mansoob. And they are wahiya, an, lan, idhin, and kay. An, lan, idhin, kay. If one of these things, we have yajlisu, right? Yajlisu. We have yajlisan. We have yajlisun. We have tajlisina. And if anyone's following the verb a day, then they will, right? They will see this. And we have yajlisuna. Yajlisuna. Okay, what happens here? All of these are marfu'. This one is marfu' with the existence of the dhamma. And the others are marfu' with the existence of the noon. With the existence of the noon. Bi thubuti noon, we say in Arabic. Now, if one of these, an, lan, idhin, or kay, appear in front of them, then yajlisu is going to become yajlisa. Right? The dhamma is going to become a fatha. And the rest of them, we're just going to drop our noon. The rest of them, we're just going to drop our noon. Right? So, ينصب الفعل المضارع. The fi'l mudari is mansub or becomes mansub متى سبقه أحد النواصب الأربع. When one of the four nawasib, one of the four things or controllers of nasb, right, preceded. وهي an, lan, idhin, or k. If an, lan, idhin, or k preceded, then it's no longer going to be yajlisu, ajlisu, tajlisu. It's going to be yajlisa, ajlisa, najlisa, tajlisa. And the rest of them likewise, you're going to be dropping the noon there. Yajlisa, yajlisu, tajlisi. Is that clear?
No.
طيب. جزم الفعل مضارع. What makes the fi'l mudari majzoom is, again, we don't have the amr and the madi. They're mabni. They never change. So, يجزم الفعل المضارع. The fi'l mudari becomes majzoom إذا سبقه, if it precedes it. Harfun, a harf, a particle. Harfun jazimun, a particle which makes something majzoom. Kal haruf al-atiya, like the following particles. Wahiya, and they are lam, wa la, an-Nahw, wa in. So if I use the same example I had up above, I had yajlisu. Then I had yajlisani. And like I said, if you've been following the verb a day, this is easy. Tajlisina. Huh?
Slide it up a little bit.
Slide what up?
Page.
I don't understand what you mean. Slide
Roll
it
it up a little bit.
Like that?
No.
I'm
Go down on the page.
Yeah,
I can't see what. Yeah.
I'm writing here though, so I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I can't see what's below that.
Okay, below what I'm writing, don't worry about it right now. I'm writing here. Yajlisu, yajlisani, tajlisina, tajlisuna, yajlisuna, whichever one, it doesn't matter. Right? Tajlisani, it doesn't matter. Right now they're marfu' with a dhamma and bi thubut and noon. However, if I put lam or la and nahiya or in front of them, right, then they're going to become majzoom. And they're going to become majzoom when that dhamma becomes a sukoon. And when we drop the noons, there's going to be majzoom bi hadafi noon. So the fi'l mudari' is going to become majzoom. The asl of it, the origin of it, is that it is marfu'. But if lam or the la and nahiya, the la of prohibition, not the la of negation, right? Such as la yajlis Muhammad. Muhammad doesn't sit. No, that's not a prohibition. That's just a negation. He doesn't sit. He's just negating that he sits, or like this. But if I say la tajlis Muhammad, I'm prohibiting from don't sit, then it's going to become majzoom with a sukoon. If it has a thubut noon for being marfu', it's going to be majzoom bi hadafi noon, by dropping that noon. If an, or if lam or la, an-Nahw, or in appear in front of it. And he's going to talk more about that right now. Lam wa la an-Nahw. These two particles, harfan, tajziman فعلا مضارعا واحدا. They're going to make one verb مجزوم. If lam appears before a verb, it's going to make it just one verb مجزوم. If la An-Nahw appears before a verb, it's just going to make one verb مجزوم. والحرف الأول, and the first one, the first particle lam, ينفي حصول الفعل في الماضي. It negates the occurrence of the action in the past. والثاني, and the second, meaning لا الناهية, ينهى عن عمل الفعل. It prohibits from the doing of the action. Right? So what is the purpose of lam? Lam, we put it before a present tense verb, such as يجلس. يجلس is a present tense verb. We have a present tense letter, ya. Right? If we put lam, يجلس, without the lam, it means he sits or he is sitting. Right? Where if I put the lam there, I'm going to make it مجزوم now because it is a harfu jazm. It is a particle which makes the verb, the present tense verb, مجزوم. It becomes مجزوم with a sukun. But it negates the past. لم يجلس, meaning he did not sit. لم يجلس, he did not sit. That's the purpose of lam. It negates the past, but it uses a present tense verb and it makes it مجزوم. لا الناهية, لا الناهية, it prevents or prohibits the occurrence of the action, such as in لا تجلس, do not sit. It's telling you do not sit. It's preventing you from doing the action of sitting. وإن تجزم فعلين. In makes, in, not in with an ein, but in makes two verbs مجزوم. Right? وتفيد, and it benefits أن حصول الفعل الأول, that the occurrence of the first action or the first verb, the first action, شرط, is a condition في حصول الفعل الثاني, for the occurrence of the second action. So for instance, I can say, give me 1 second here. I can say in, and we said this is going to make two verbs. It's going to make two verbs مجزوم. In تدرس, if you study, تنجح. You will be successful. Both of these verbs are مجزوم because of in. And the first one is a condition for the second one taking place. In تدرس تنجح. If you study, you will be successful. Right? If you study, you will be successful. You will succeed. You will be victorious. Is that clear?
That's not every time you use in.
In.
In a situation.
In. Every time it's gonna do two verbs. Now, there could be one where one is implied here, and there's a whole nother sentence, say without a verb, for example. Right? There's a whole nother sentence, but it's under the condition of it being مجزوم, even though it might just be implied. Right? For an example, I'm just giving you an example. You could ask me, هل أنجح? Will I succeed? And I say to you, إن تدرس. Right? If you study. Now, I didn't mention, you asked me, هل أنجحوا هل أنجحوا. Will I succeed? Will I be victorious? And I tell you, in tadrus. Now I didn't say a second verb there, but the meaning is in tadrus tanjah. And so likewise, there could be something which has the meaning of the second of the fulfillment of that condition, right? However, you may not see it. And I don't have an example in front of me right now in my head, but yes, in is always going to make two verbs majzoom, whether we see those verbs or not. You understand?
I'm just trying to picture, because I know I've been seeing in on some stuff, but I never paid attention to that.
I'm gonna try to look in the Quran. Well, we've went over it before, but I'm trying to see if I can see it in the Quran. It's gonna be hard just because of how many. Okay, here we go. Here's one in Baqarah. It says, okay, أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين. That's, well, it's a little bit different. That's a technical one. It's there, but it's technical. I'm trying to see if I can see one. Has to be in. But yes, it's always gonna. Here we go. Here's in Baqarah, ayat 85. He says, and I only got 2 minutes left, but in Baqarah in 85, where does it go? Okay. وَإِنْ يَأْتُوكُمْ أُسَارَ تُفَادُوهُمْ, which says, and if they come to you as captives, يَأْتُوكُمْ, like I said, Baqarah 85, يَأْتُوكُمْ, the noon is dropped. يَأْتُوكُمْ, يَأْتُونَ became يَأْتُوكُمْ, if they come to you. We dropped the noon. Not يَأْتُونَكُمْ, but يَأْتُوكُمْ. We dropped the noon because it is majzoom. Right? يَأْتُوكُمْ تُفَادُوهُمْ. تُفَادُوهُمْ. Again, not تُفَادُونَهُمْ. We dropped the noon here. It's majzoom. If they come to you, then ransom them. But the ransom is not going to happen except if they come to you. You understand? So
no.
In is going to do two verbs. In is going. So for instance, the word insha'Allah. But sha here is appearing before a past tense. But even then, insha'Allah, if Allah wills, then this. Right? It's going to rain today. Insha'Allah. Insha'Allah yumtir. Right? If Allah wills. Even though sha here is appearing before a past tense verb, so it's not the same, but the concept of the condition and the fulfillment of the condition are both there. Clear?
No.
Inshallah ta'ala, we'll meet tomorrow and we'll go over some more. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Try to be on time if we can, so we get as much done and as many questions as you have, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.